This is not fiction. This is recorded history. Columbus documented it in his own journals. The African presence in America existed long before slavery. The evidence has always been there. Read the record.
The journals hold the record, documented and sealed. Columbus wrote the evidence that centuries concealed. Black people stood in America before the chains were made,
before the slave ships loaded,
before the auction and the trade.
Columbus saw
the evidence, he wrote it with his hand.
African civilization,
African civilization had already walked this land.
Yeah, in 1492 Columbus crossed the Atlantic under Spanish Royal Commission. He arrived along the shores of the Caribbean on a formal exploratory mission. The indigenous Arawak people of Hispaniola provided them with direct information. They reported that black men had come from the south and reached their nation. Columbus recorded this testimony inside his ship log as a phone journal entry. Black men had arrived before him and were trading gold across that open territory. The spear tips those African men carried were forged from a substance called guano, a blended alloy of gold, copper, and silver identical to what West Africans were trading. Columbus collected samples of this guano metal and transported them to Spain for testing. Portuguese royal metallurgists examined the material and confirmed the composition was matching the same formula produced in Guinea, West Africa.
The same precisely measure ratio,
gold, copper, and silver combined and documented.
This was evidence, not a scenario.
The Mali Empire dispatched Abu Bakr II across the Atlantic in 1311. He abdicated his throne and set sail, commanding 2,000 boats and vessels. Ibn Khaldun, the North African historian, preserved this expedition in formal written record.
Abu Bakr II departed westward, and that documented account has never been ignored. The journals hold the record, documented and sealed.
Columbus wrote the evidence.
Columbus wrote the evidence that centuries concealed. Black people stood in America before the chains were made, before the slave ships loaded, before the auction.
Shalom. I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, or HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, great millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. This is brother Ya'ayar Banyunyam out of the great millstone camp of Augusta, Georgia. Just come with a lesson. I hope it'll be edifying to the flock. You saw the little animation with the Lego characters depicting when Christopher Columbus came to the Western Hemisphere of the Caribbean, the Caribbean islands and so forth, and it was showing the things that was documented. Because you got to understand, all this information has been well documented. So this is how we know particular things. First and foremost, through the Holy Scriptures, the Bible told us certain things, and then we go through other secular sources to that matches up to what the Bible goes into. But this account that when Christopher Columbus came over here to this side of the world, he learned that out of the Bible, in the books of the Bible that were taken out, that are called the Apocrypha. In the book of 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, Columbus read that to understand that there were people on this side of the earth. And those people were Israelites. Now, in the video, you kept hearing them say African, African this, civilization, and this, that, and third, because people don't really have the understanding of nationality. They believe that everybody that looks so-called black, brown skin, whatever, everybody goes back to Africa. And that's not the case. You have different people groups on the earth. You got different tribes. Some people are so-called Africans, or their real names are Hamites. They're Hamitic. But the people that came over to America, Central America, North America, Canada, North America, Central and South America, and the Caribbean islands, those people were Israelites. I'm going to read the account. Just give me a moment. This is 2nd Ezra. I'll start at verse 40. And it reads, and this is an account that, like I was saying, when they're talking about Christopher Columbus and how he knew there's people over here, he read it out the Bible. 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 40. This is in the Apocrypha. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of O.C., the king, who Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. So this is talking about the Israelites. And they were in captivity underneath the Assyrians. And the Assyrians took who into captivity? If you know the history, they took the northern kingdom of Israelites. Remember, the northern kingdom of Israelites went into captivity first. And then after that, I think it's 40 years later or so, the southern kingdom of Israelites went in captivity underneath the Babylonians. Okay, so it says, verse 41, but they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. So the Israelites are talking about leaving the area that they're in, the land that they're in, and go find a new land where they can get away from the heathen and where no man dwelt. And they enter into the Euphrates by the narrow place of the river. For the Most High, Yahweh, then shewed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. So it took them a year and a half to go around. The country is talking about, it's actually a continent. It's talking about the African continent. They traveled through the Euphrates, went south, went through the Red Sea, came around Egypt, underneath Egypt, came around, like Somalia, all those areas, Ethiopia. They came around that side, went around the south part of Africa, what was called South Africa now, the Horn. They came around that spot and went around and traveled to South America and Caribbean islands and all the Americas. And it took them a year and a half. So it takes a year and a half to take that journey around to get to this side of the earth. Verse 45. 2nd Ezra 13:45. For through that country there were a great way to go, namely a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth. Now, if we do history, Arsareth is this land mass. Oh, now people talk about Turtle Island and all that stuff. That's going off. All that's some crap. But yes, this land is called Arsareth. Verse 46, they dwelt there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. So the latter time is talking about now. So when Christopher Columbus came over here, if you watch the movie 1492, a Jesuit priest asked Christopher Columbus how he knew that there was people over here. There was a landmass over here. He said he read it in the Bible. This is where he read from, and this is how he knew that there was land over here. And when he came in the video, it mentions the Arawak people. Those are Israelites. Taino Indian, so-called Indians and so forth. Those are Israelites. They knew this because Christopher Columbus brought interpreters that knew Hebrew. And they told, the interpreters told him that the tribes that they were interacting with were speaking Hebrew, a broken dialect of Hebrew, but they were able to understand them. So this is why we tell you, like, Israelites were the first people to come to this land and to populate it, to make it their own. Okay, specifically the northern kingdom of Israelites came over here. And those are the so-called Hispanics, the Latinas, the indigenous people, so-called Native Americans. They make up the northern kingdom of Israelites, the 10 tribes. Now people say, well, how you know that's, how did they know to come over here and this, that, and third? Well, they knew because of King Solomon. His navy came over here centuries before, they came over. King Solomon came to this side of earth. Let me see. Give me a moment. Where is it? I think it's it right here. Yeah. It talks about King Solomon coming over here. Let me see. I'll start verse 22. For the 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 22. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. So it said every once in 3 years. If you do the math, what we read in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, it said what? It took 1.5 years to get from Israel, that side of the world, to come over here to this side. So what's 1.5 years plus 2? That's 3 years. It says what? He brought back gold and silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. Now, if you know anything, in South America, you have apes. They're monkeys, but they're considered apes. The ape family. You got many different varieties down there. And I mentioned peacocks. Wasn't actually, there's no peacocks over here in the Americas. But you have an animal that looked kind of similar to one, which is a turkey. But, in here they call them a peacock. Could have, height-wise look similar and whatnot. Height-wise and everything, But it really, they're two different birds. But this is talking about the Americas. Verse 23, so King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. Well, I'll stop right there. Because we understand that King Solomon was wise. And he was the richest king ever of the earth. Everybody came to him for everything. For knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And a lot of his riches came from this side of the earth, in this western hemisphere, because a lot of gold, when Christopher Columbus came over here, there was a lot of gold and silver. This is what they came over to get, a lot of gold and silver. And they used the Arawak people, the Taino people, Israelites, and the other tribes. And they shipped back the gold and silver and the other precious minerals that they got over here. And they shipped back the people back to Europe as slaves, because that's when the transatlantic slave trade started. It started back with Christopher Columbus in 1492. And then as time went on, they, about a century later, they came and started getting the southern kingdom of Israelites off the coast of West Africa. You know, Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, Togo, all those areas. When you look at an old map, do the research, you look at an old map, it shows the kingdom of Wida, or the kingdom of Judah, or some people say Yehuda and so forth, but it's really called the kingdom of Yahweh, in Paleo Hebrew. But all those people were Israelites. That's what we've been trying to tell you. That little anime video was on point to a certain degree, going off here and there, but it mentions that Christopher Columbus, and it mentions the transatlantic slave trade. And that's why we say that there's receipts. There are receipts that we have of the things that they done to us as a people. We got so many receipts. And this is why brothers like Eldam Not Zakba, and a couple other brothers, when they do their lessons, they're really focusing on a lot of lessons on these Edomites having this guilt. They're having this guilt. They're bringing up these questions. I just had a conversation with a coworker before I came to my lunch break, and Edomite, our coworker that's an Edomite, was asking, he brought up the whole Camilla Anthony and things of that nature, and